Thank you for invitation. It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you about the relation between the microbiota, maternal programming, and probiotics. How these concepts affect the development of the offspring. Highlight the importance of two critical windows of the pregnancy and lactation. Continue with this presentation in the important our entire body is made of microorganisms. We fulfill a specific function where they are formed. The good microbiota is the most important, since it corresponds to between 7 and 18% of the total microbiota. It's an organ made out of a diversity in ecosystem of microorganisms. It's so specific and complex that it's considered a fingerprint. It is dominated by phylum, Firmicutes, Bacteroidetes, Actinobacteria, Proteobacterium, or Verrocmicrobium. It's important to refer to different states of the microbiota, depend of their diversity and composition. The first is eubiosis, it balances good microbiota. Intestine works properly. Another state in microbiota is dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is imbalance of the intestinal microbiota due to digestion disorders, weakened immune system. The gut microbiota is important for its four essential functions. The first is metabolic function. It is responsible for digesting, fermentation of ingestible foods, absorption of nutrition, for example, amino acids, sugar, vitamins. The second is the barrier function, defend against microbians, toxins, produce a specific of peptides with bacteriums characteristic to inhibit the growth of pathogens. The third is the defense function. It's important because it favors the development of the immune system. They produce anti-inflammatory interleukins, such as AL10 and well as AL22, that helps maintain the balance of the microbiota. Increase the production of immunoglobulin A and G. And finish is the fourth, maintain function. Maintain function is important because it helps in the maturation of the digestive strands, as well as in the production of mucus for the proteins of the intestine. The intestine microbiota is an ecosystem that varies by the state of life in which the individual is. For example, in a baby, the formation of the microbiota is gradual, of low diversity, and very unstable. Factors to has different feeding, formula food, and solid food affect the colonization of the initial microbiota. In childhood and adolescence, the microbiota is very susceptible to change due to diet, the use antibiotics, and the hormonal, physiological, and metabolic changes. Then the individual goes and drops. In adults, it's the state is where the green state diversity. The microbiota is very stable and difficult to modify. And in low microbiota diversity increase the presence of potential harmful bacterial groups. But where does the formation of this gut microbiota begin? To know the origin is important to study the windows of development is the pregnancy and lactation. One is the pregnancy in the first placenta was traditionally believed to form a steady barrier between the colonized maternal urogenital tracts and the fetus. However, recent students have changed these associates. Bacteria and their genes have been isolated from human placenta and amniotic fluid, fetal membranes, and fetal gastrointestinal tract in healthy, normal pregnancy. These bacteria have three main routes of entry: the oral fetoplasm route, the gastrointestinal fetoplasm route, and the genitourinary fetoplasm route. These kinds of microorganisms have had different functions determined in the place where they are used, always influencing the immune system of the fetus. And human meal is important because it's a complex specific biological fluid adapt. And other windows important is lactation. In lactation, and key result, principal human meal, is the different satisfies the nutrition requirements of the rapidly growing infant. More recent several students have revealed that colostrum and milk meal are conditions of conventional mutualism and potential probiotic bacteria to the infant gut. The colonization of bacteria in milk occurs bacterium is the principal by the enteromammaria route. The dendritic cells trans intestinal bacteria and transport them. Once inside the dendritic cells, intestinal bacteria can spread to other places, such as the mammalian gland, since there is a circulation of lymphocytes with the mucosa-associated lymphoid system. In this way, they are transported through the milk to intestinal of the newborn. Other sources of bacterial colonization as the skin of the brains and the oral cavity of the infant. It is as previously described, the intestinal microbiome is formed from conception and through life can be altered for better or for worse by various factors such as diet, drugs, stress, exercise, physiology, metabolism, geography, and the state of the life cycle. Highlight the importance of the two critical windows of development, the pregnancy and lactation. So the concept of programming is of human importance. The hypothesis of the origins of development of health and the designs propose that the response to a child in a critical window of the time during development modify the physiology, microbiota, and fetal and neonatal metabolism, which affects health throughout life. Is other words affect phenotype. It is a result important, for example, obesity during pregnancy and lactation. Links an increased risk of the offspring development metabolic disorders, in addition to the adverse effect of the mother, which cause alteration in the phenotype, such as physiological, endocrine, metabolic, behavior, composition, and diversity in intestinal microbial community, which leads to long-lasting effect of offspring. It's for this reason that it's important to look for alternatives that prevent bad programming. Various interventions has been used, from the use antioxidants, proper nutrition, and exercise. Highlight the use probiotics and source to prevent the adverse effects of programming and guarantee a healthy life in the offspring. As is generally known, probiotics are living microorganisms that confer a benefit to health of the host. Probiotic has various ways of working to give the health benefit, from the production of vitamins, protein, exopolysaccharides, competing competition for the points of attains to the epithelium, activation of the immune system, increased barrier function, and production of antimicrobial substance, for example, peptides. Other interesting probiotic is the principal use as nutritional intervention during pregnancy and lactation, where is benefit in reduce or preventing and any pathology has been observed. And next, I show you two students when where the probiotics Bifidobacterium infantis and Lactobacillus fermentum has been used. Each strain has its own mechanisms by which it confers a benefit. For example, Bifidobacterium acts to improve the immune system, as well as to preserve the intestinal barrier. Lactobacillus acts in the metabolism of lipids and improve the absorption of these. It's important to understand that these probiotics as well as commercials are isolated from human source, that is, from breast milk or the feces of neonates. It's important in this conference, I result or consider the importance of probiotics in health. Of new potential probiotic bacteria use unconventional source with the help of Dr. Jorge Ñañez and collaborate in Mexico. We isolate new probiotics, isolate from the aguamiel of agave salmiana. Aguamiel is the edible sweet sap obtained from a specific Madureira agave species. Wheat is commonly fermented to produce pulque, a traditional Mexican alcoholic behavior. We have a student from its probiotic potentials and a student of the exopolysaccharides and effect in prevent obesity. This, this bacterium was identified as Leuconostoc mesenteroides. Regarding its probiotic properties according to the critical established by the FAO. Resistant to gastrointestinal condition was determined. Additionally, an adhered to intestinal epithelial cells, produce antimicrobial compounds and exclude pathogens by positively enjoy immune infusions. Other characterization in this bacterium is present interesting probiotic characteristics, specific grain, payans, and billion tolerance, in vitro and adhesion to intestinal mucus, and suppressing pathogen growth under in vitro conditions, which were found in vitro to possess disorders or principal probiotic disorder probiotic properties similar or super to the commercial probiotic strain Lactobacillus plantarum to 99 view. Other characteristics is the of metabolism. The exopolysaccharide has been isolated and its physicochemical properties evaluated. The glucan produced by the strain isolated from aguamiel of agave salmiana is dextran, a homopolysaccharide compounds of glucose. The rheological behavior of the dextran solution of the different concentration is even typical source twin and when held prepared. The rheological property of the dextran give them a green potentials as thicker or stabilized. Its fusion prepared as a food additional as well as its prebiotic potential are currently being evaluated. Other characterization in this probiotic in collaborate with Dr. Elena Zambrano and Dr. Jorge Ñañez, we have evaluated the effect of this potential probiotic strain in an experimental mouse model of obesity induced by a high-fat diet. Oral administration of leuconostomes enteroides to high-fat diet fed mice significantly reduced in body weight gain associated with a reduce in fat mass, assuming the possibility that this potential probiotic strain can reduce fat deposition. High-fat diet increase glucose, cholesterol, and leptin levels in group OB, or in the group OB. Different results when the administration leuconostomes enteroides lower these levels. For you see in this lamina, this EUBP group is the lower these levels, the glucose, cholesterol, and leptin compared with AB group. It's important to highlight that all the biochemical parameters obtained in CP were similar to C. In these students, adaptate in the OB state was demonstrated by an increase in billion hertz, higher green depth, and low numbers of goblet cells per area in OB compared with C. These changes are likely to increase intestinal absorption and permeability when subsequent metabolic inflammation increase energy harvest from the high-fat diet. However, administration of leuconostomes enteroides is effective in reduced billion hertz and change that they may reduce absorption of dietarian fat and constitute a mechanism by which this bacterial strain exerts a positive effect on liver steatosis and maintains the gut integrity in these animals. Other results is another benefit effect observed is that in decreased hepatic steatosis and with all the accumulation of fat in adipose tissues. Additionally, reduce the production and TLR4, CD40, and TNFR is the resource important because this is relation with the immune system. All the strain probiotic induce the production and anti-inflammatory cytokine. For example, AL10. Currently, the effect of the probiotic in preventing the deaths caused by maternal obesity in the offspring is being studied. In this study, the administration of the probiotic was evaluated for 1 month before meeting during pregnancy and lactation. It's important to clarify that all the offspring of the 4 groups for women consumed a controlled diet and did not receive the probiotic. In other words, both the positive and negative effects observed in the offspring are exclusive though the maternal environments that were exposing during the critical windows of development, pregnancy, and lactation. This important results is good because so far we have observed a benefit effects in mothers, reduce the accumulation of fat, results similar to those obtained in the male mouse. We have all students, they change intestinal microbiota, but in the mother and the offspring of bone cells, composition of maternal gut microbiota, Firmicutes bacteroidetes, ration, considered as an early biomarker for obesity, was higher in NO than to C, CP, and NOP. In offspring, the Proteobacterium microcephaly considered as early printing of the innate and adaptive immune system was lower in male and female in O group compared to C, CP, and LP. So the conclusion that these students NO during pregnancy and lactation is accompanied with gut microbiota dysbiosis with a similitude development of metabolic disorders, which could affect microbiota transmission from the mother to offspring and future results in offspring metabolic disorders. Maternal probiotic intervention improve gut microbiota in both mothers and offspring. I want to tell all the people, undergraduate and graduate students, as well as my collaboration who made it possible to carry out this type of students. Thank you for your attention.